This podcast is part of the Listen Frederick Podcast Network. To learn more, visit listenfrederick.com.
The Fedora Files.
Hello and welcome to the Fedora Files. I am Gregory Fedora, and with me today I got a great guest. This guy is amazing. If you actually look over my shoulder right here, you'll see one of his pieces of art, and it's one of my favorites, and I got to get more. And I'm actually was on his site ordering more before he showed up. So Jeffrey,
oh my goodness.
Jeff Collins. I went and called you Jeffrey, and I'm sorry.
That's all good. I'm in trouble.
No, not yet. I'm so glad this has been like years in the making. Like, cause I've talked to you a bunch, and then I never followed through. And then I know you're just busy. You're always going. So I didn't want to I didn't want you to feel obligated, but I'm glad you're here.
I'm super glad. I mean, we're like practically neighbors, and I see you at all these different events. And like you said, we've been trying to work it out, and I'm glad we could finally make things come together, man. Yeah,
exactly. So, well, first off, how did you get into, like, I want to ask like some art questions. Like, how did you get into art and into drawing, or realize that you were good at it? Because you're amazing at it. Like,
thank you. I've always been doing it since I was a little kid. I started doing a lot of like sculpting and building things. I like to do things sort of three-dimensionally. So when I was a kid, I would make like little forts out of paper and stuff like that. And I think I saw Return of the Jedi, and I made the Ewok village out of some paper and tape. So I was always into like doing things three-dimensionally, and then that sort of progressed into artwork as well. I'm really lucky that my mom was an art teacher, so I learned a lot of stuff from her. And just like, I mean, I've always been doing this kind of stuff. I love being creative. It's just in me, and I got to get it out.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. My dog's here. He just showed up.
Hey.
Yeah. So if you're wondering what I was just doing just now, it's because he showed up. So anyway,
gotcha.
That's awesome. So, but then what drew you, like, all right, so you did obviously Star Wars. We have that in common. Like that was always the thing. But what monsters? How did you go from doing that art? What drew you to these folklore monsters? Because if people go to your Instagram, they're gonna just see so many different ones. Like
sure.
And
yeah. So my whole life. I mean, growing up. I was a kid in the 80s. So on TV, a lot of it was pretty much the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot. I just remember them on TV. And back then, at least the way I remember it, it was not a question that they existed. It was like, yeah, they exist. We're just looking for them, We're diving deep into the loch to try to find it. We're going into the woods to find Bigfoot, stuff like that. So that was always something that was in my childhood mind. It was like real. I mean, that was going on. So that mixed with like I said, like all the creatures and weird stuff and Star Wars and all those other great movies from the 80s. That went into my brain. And then later on, when I moved out to where I live, which is close to where you live, there was a store. I used to drive to and from work. I would always drive by this. There was a little gift shop, and it was called the Snallygaster. I said, what is that name? What a weird name, And this is back in, probably 18 years ago, 17, 18 years ago. It doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
But but I researched that, and what is this? And I thought that was really cool. So I threw some sketches together, and they kind of sat around for a while, and I would go back and forth and mess with them a little bit and do other things. But that was the first cryptid where it really just grew into this whole, what I'm doing now, which is just researching all these different ones in different states. And I think all the stories are great, and it's sort of like open for interpretation, which as an artist I love, because I can kind of give it what I think it would look like, along with whatever the witnesses saw. So
yeah, I mean, and that's like, yeah, that gift shop is actually where that gift shop was, is like right down the road from where I live, I
Exactly. Yep.
believe. And so,
Yep.
and it's not there. But like for me with the Snallygaster, it's very similar. I moved to this area, and my wife grew up in this area, but a lot of people from Maryland have don't even know about the Snallygaster, which is
Right.
crazy
That's
to me.
right.
And
Yeah.
when I moved here, I had this idea to do a mockumentary about like a Bigfoot type creature, and I was making it up. I was writing stories about because I was just like, well, I'm gonna make something funny and interesting. And as I did it, I went up on South Mountain, and then there was like this sign about the snarly owl. And I'm like, what is that? And then I typed that in, and then I just typed in South Mountain monster, and the Snallygaster popped up, and I'm like, what is this? And I was like, holy cow, I don't need to make up a weird Bigfoot thing. And this is bizarre and crazy. And the folklore of the Snallygaster is just insane. Like it involves the president and everything. So it's just beyond crazy to me. But so that was obviously the first thing that drew you in. Like, do you have a favorite like cryptid, or are they all unique to you? Is there one that you, besides the Snallygaster, that you really is cool to you?
So that's a really great question. I usually tell people, and it's the honest truth, it's the one I'm currently working on. So whatever the creature I'm currently working on, I'm really into it. I get into the story, if there's witnesses to that, try to so I'll really get into that one, and I'll love it. And then when that one's done, I'm on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I do have some local favorites. Obviously, the Snallygaster is one. Um, the Jersey Devil's pretty cool. I'm trying to think. There's some neat ones. There's a whole bunch of neat ones in Pennsylvania. Um, the Ogua, I think you pronounce it. It's like a
Mm-hmm.
two-headed turtle. But like I said, I like them all. I think they're all pretty neat.
Now, one thing like when I first met you, I think it was at the Snallygaster Fest, right? Yeah,
Uh-huh. Yep.
in Middletown,
Yep.
and you had at the time you just had a map of Maryland, and then
Right.
you then moved on. Like I'm now seeing like that's what I've got in my cart now. I've got, because I had the small map, but I want the big map of Maryland, and because you had made a small
Okay.
version. But so you've moved on and you've done Pennsylvania now, Ohio, Virginia, or West Virginia.
West Virginia. Yep. Yep. And so it's like moving out from my home state. I'm doing those. I have plans to do some others, which I've had help from some other people in those states to sort of give me some of their research and do some of my own. So I've definitely got more in the works. I'm not going to tell you which ones they are yet because it's going to be a surprise. But I'm going to keep doing this. I mean, I'm really enjoying it, and it seems like other people are too. So
Oh yeah, it's so good.
I'm going to
Like
keep coming.
I'm hoping you're gonna do the whole United States, because I eventually would like to have all 50 states behind me, and because it'd be
There you
amazing.
go, man.
Yeah, like
That would be
what?
fun.
Well,
Yeah.
see, I like what I like is that on like because I go to your Instagram all the time. Like every time you post something new, I go and look, and it's always like a new little sketch of a monster, and then I'm trying to figure out,
Uh-huh.
like I'll look at it, I'm like, is this on a map he's already done, or is this like a hint of a map? And so I'll go like I'll see what you've done, and then I'll like type in the monster and see where it's at, and I'm like, okay, no, that's in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
so he's already done that one. And so I was like, so I'm trying to see if I can figure out what state you're working on, and then by what you post.
A lot of that. So like with my Instagram, it's a lot of it is trying to keep engagement.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the best at it, but I'm trying to post something as often as possible. So some of the things are things I'm currently working on. Some of them are things that I've already done. Some of them you might not see at all because they're just ideas that I'm working through. Like there's I'm t-shirt which I'm working on right now, and I've got a couple weeks left. I'm really excited to do it, but you'll see some things pop up with that. And then when that's out, I'll post that. But yeah, I'm
Mm-hmm.
always trying to do something just to keep people engaged because I guess that's what you got to do now. And I'm kind of old school, so it's it's tricky for me, but I'm doing my best.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now your style's over here. Your style's
Yep.
like very unique. Like, and I know that it's a process that you do, and I'm not asking you how to explain how you do it because that's your trade secret. But what made you think to go that route? Like, because they look like they're old from old newspapers, like the kind of thing that they would do in a newspaper before they had photography. And so like I mean
Sure.
that's what I don't know if that was what you were going for, but like
Yeah.
whenever I see your stuff, I'm like, man, it looks like stuff from like the early 1900s, late 1800s, like that style. And I'm like, what made you?
So it was a decision to do that, for the reasons that you said. I wanted it to look old fashioned, maybe Victorian era or a little bit later. Um, I was inspired by what's called like the golden age of illustration. There were a lot of artists that were working in pen and ink, or wood block or lino cut. These are different types of,
Mhm.
and mine is a mix of all of those techniques. It's a little bit of pen and ink, it's a little bit of line cut or block cut. It's to give it that vintage look. So you can imagine finding it in your grandparents' attic with some old newspapers or something. That's what I wanted it to have a feel of like history to it. Um, because it's something different. I hadn't seen it anywhere. I see a lot of stuff, which there's so many great artists out there, and they'll be doing things that kind of look like movie posters or paintings. So I wanted to have like my unique niche
Mhm.
and have it feel old,
Yeah.
like history.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what I think that is what draws me to your stuff is just because it feels historic and like and also I think the way you drew the Snallygaster was also like hit me because like most people draw it with the tentacles coming out of the mouth, and that always bothered me for some reason. I don't know why, but then you had it on the
It's
outside, which is what I always envisioned, and then I was like, oh
a
my
little
gosh,
bit
he gets
different.
it.
Yeah.
So, but
Yeah, it's a little bit different. That's another thing I try to do, is like when I'm thinking about these, how would that work in reality? Like, how would this thing be eating if it's got tentacles coming out of its mouth? Where would the food go?
yeah.
Well, maybe it's not like that. It's a little bit different. And so when I research all these different creatures, I'm thinking, I try my best to think of, oh, here's a scientific way where that might work out.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously it's just coming from my imagination, but I want it to have a little bit more of a realistic feel to it.
Oh yeah, and it does. And like I said, you can imagine this picture, like I said, in a turn of the century newspaper when the three moonshiners disappeared, and or when they said the Snallygaster
Right.
died. Like this was what was in the newspaper, showing, oh yeah, this is what happened. And
Yeah.
so I mean, I love it. I mean, like I said, your talent blows me away because it's just to me it's so cool, and I would like to have all your stuff everywhere
Thank you.
around me.
Thank you. I really
So.
appreciate it, because that's what I'm trying to do. Like exactly what you're saying is sort of the vibe I'm trying to get across, and I think people are picking up on that.
Mhm.
It motivates me to keep doing what I'm doing.
Now I have a great as far as folklore monsters go, of the ones that you've done and drawn, if it did exist or not, which monster do you hope never did or isn't out there? Like that you hope is not
Uh,
real.
you think about that.
Like
Um,
most people ask like which one do you hope is out there? I want to know which one do you hope is not out there doing its thing.
well, there's I can't remember the name of it now. The Crosswick Monster. I think
Hmm.
that's what it's called. It's in Ohio. That's the map I finished most recently.
Hmm.
And it's kind of creepy because it's like a giant snake with sort of appendages like arms. And basically the story went that he grabbed this one kid and knocked him out, took him, took him through the woods and I think into a hole in a tree. The guy was rescued, the little kid was rescued. But that's pretty scary because I feel like that's something that you could come across anywhere. If there's a
Yeah.
wooded area, I could see something like that happening. And just the fact that it's this slithering giant snake-like creature. Yeah, it's kind of creepy.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, that I don't
Yeah.
really enjoy snakes as it is. So a snake with a
No,
pen
yeah.
grabbing me would not be keen in my mind. So
Not
you
cool. Not cool.
so you're traveling around to a lot of different events. Like, what are
Yeah.
you would you mind like the next 3 events that you're going to be at? Where are you headed that you know of?
Sure. Let's see. Well, the next one on the list is going to be the Hocking Hills Bigfoot Festival.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2-day event, and I think they're expecting somewhere around 40,000 people.
Wow,
So
nice.
that's gonna be big. Yeah, yeah, and it's in a beautiful area of Ohio. They've got it's forested, and they've got caves and falls, so it's a great place for people to just go and chill out too. So that's going to be, I think, the first weekend of August, and then the second weekend is one of my favorites. This is their second year. It's called Squonkapalooza,
Mm-hmm.
and it's celebrating all things squonk and, of course,
Mm-hmm.
cryptids and folklore in general. That's up in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, and that's the second weekend in August. And then I think I have a show. I think after that, oh gosh, I have a show out in Detroit. And I don't remember the name of it, but I'm excited for that. So I've never been to Detroit, and it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of a good reason to go there and check out that city. And then I have a lot. I mean, I picked up a lot this year, so it'll be a busy summer and
Yeah.
fall. Yep.
And you hopefully you're going to be selling a lot of your art, which I know you will. Like that's going,
Fingers
especially.
crossed.
Oh yeah, I hope so. I hope you make tons of money. Oh yeah, I know. And sorry, he's here again. But
Yeah, yeah.
so it have you ever thought about actually like I mean your art's amazing. Have you ever thought about actually hunting any of the like the Bigfoots? Have you ever thought about trying to go out and capture one?
I mean, I'm too
Or do
scared.
you just want to
I
draw them in the safety of your home?
Yeah, I just want to. I'm in the safety of my house. I'll leave that to the pros. I mean, there's so many people out there that, they're really into it and they know what they're doing. I'll watch on TV, or I'll
Mm-hmm.
be in my room drawing. I think it would be awesome if somebody found one of these things, filmed it, photographed
Mm-hmm.
it, whatever. But I'm not currently looking. I think if anything, I'll be checking out like haunted places. So it's not really
Mm-hmm.
cryptids, but it's in the same sort of ballpark.
Yeah.
I enjoy that stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Like
yeah.
you've done like you like some of the other art that's pretty cool that I want to ask you about was you do these 3-dimensional ones, which you kind of mentioned you got into sculpting where it's like multi-layered with the lighting and
Right.
uh
Yeah.
so that's another thing. Like, how did your mind conceptualize that? Because to me, that's like again, it's so
Yeah.
neat that I'm like when I see them, I'm like
Thank you.
that. Just it's a lot of thought process of like what layers and how to. It's
Thank you.
almost like an
Yeah.
animated cell, but 3-dimensional. Like,
Right. So it's like layers. It's paper cut
mm-hmm.
layers that are backlit, so it kind of glows and you see all the different layers, and it gives it almost like a three. It's like 2D made 3D,
Mm-hmm.
if that makes sense. I've seen them with other subject matters. I've seen them in like stores for children's rooms, kind of like it would be like a light for their table. It's like a warm light to keep them comfortable at night or whatever. But I thought, oh, it'd be neat to do that with cryptids and with my idea. And then, so I have a degree in architecture, and a background in art and illustration. So like just all those things kind of came together to help me visualize how to make those things work, how to make those layers play off each other, and the lighting. Scott, they're really fun to do, work to make. But I really enjoy doing it, and I've got some some new designs that are about halfway done. So I hope to bring out one or two more this year, some new ones. See, you have to check out my Instagram and you'll know when they come out.
Oh yeah, I will. I do. So I will. Now, I am curious. Like, I'm assuming it takes long, but like when you do one of these like state illustrations, on average, how long is it taking you to design that? Or do the whole artwork to get it?
Man, that's a long time. The first one I did, it was about a year, maybe a little bit less than a year, because I'm doing other stuff too.
Yeah.
So it's not like straight through, but because it's essentially it's the research, putting together a list of what these cryptids are going to be for each state, then researching all the cryptids, finding all the stories, and the locations, because I've got them located on the map where they were seen, and then it's sketching I do each of them and get them just the way I want them, and then I have to arrange that around the map and make it all work. I've seen people. There's people that will make maps and they're all really neat. But everything I do is built around everything else. It's a whole custom piece. I'm not just dropping the creatures in. I'm working with balance and scale and all these things, so that it's the whole thing. It's not just a map, it's a piece of art. It's a long process, but I love it. It's so fun to do.
Yeah,
it really is.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can tell that you do, like because of how your finished product. You obviously do love what you're doing, because it's like it's well done, and it looks good, and it's
Thank
very
you.
cool. And if you weren't enjoying it, it would be slapdashed, and you would just be trying to get it done. But you have so much detail too, that's why I was wondering how long it took you, because I was like, there's so much detail, like on each creature,
Yeah,
and even the state, how you draw the state, there's details in it, and it's like, man, that's a lot of time. And I was curious.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think, I finished Ohio. It was the quickest one. I think that one only took me maybe 4 months, but that was a really hard push. I wasn't doing anything else but that map. So it depends. But I would say on average 9 months to a year. So to do the whole country, it may take me 50 years.
I'll wait around. I'll wait around, man. It'll be worth the wait. And now I know, I mean, I don't want to keep you too long, because I know you got stuff to do and you got to get ready for these next events and stuff. But I don't want you to go until you tell people where they can go to see your art, see your Instagram, where they can purchase your stuff. So if you want to like tell people where that is, because they,
Absolutely. So yeah, I have a website where you can buy majority of the stuff that I sell. That's Starcruiser Studios, all one word, starcruiserstudios.com. You can also follow me on Instagram. It's Starcruiser Studios. And watch me on this, or listen to me on this podcast. And you can find me. I try anything, within like 8 hours of Maryland. I'm trying to do the shows, and I'm picking up as many as I can. I love to be out there at the shows, just like you. Interacting with people is my favorite thing. Talking and learning from people, and teaching people, and just the whole community is so great. So if anyone wants to send me a message, feel free. This community is really special, and I'm just a small part of that. And I just really appreciate that, and everybody that's a part of it.
Oh yeah, I mean, and the thing it really is a welcoming group of people. Like, I was actually nervous
Yep.
the first show I went to, because I was like, man, people aren't gonna like my stuff, or they're gonna like think I'm making fun of things because of my sense of humor. And like, because like on the first book I did, the Happy Monster Little Monster book is the first one I had, and it's like throughout it, I say goofy things about the monsters. I was like, oh man, people aren't going. And then they ended up liking it, so I was like, oh okay, so I did another. But it's pretty cool that people, you know, love the stuff, are serious about, but can also have a sense of humor about it and are willing to like with your stuff. Like I love that's the demise of, Snally. And so it's kind of funny. But like, so your stuff, your artwork, it's your definition of what you think it looked like. And it's the way you pictured it to be, and people are welcome it. They're not like, oh no, it has to have this, it's like, they allow the imagination to like kind of guide it, which is
absolutely
awesome. Because that's what
great.
folklore was always about, was imagination and like where it would go. But
sharing it with everybody, absolutely.
And it keeps the stories around. Your stuff keeps like when I looked at your maps, like I was like, man, I had to look stuff up, because I was like, I'd never heard of that one, and so I'd look it up and like, yeah, that is awesome. And I'd add it to my list of, man, I got to add that to something, because that's really awesome. I got to do more research on that one, because like you found things that I hadn't heard of, and I was like, man, that's awesome. And I grew up in Ohio. And there were some on that Ohio map that I was like, dang, I grew, but like, I can't feel that bad, because people in Maryland didn't know about the snallygaster. So, but
right.
Like, but I was just like, that's some, man, I wish I would have known that growing up. And
it's the feedback loop. Like I learned from you, you learn from me, and it helps us both out, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
It just keeps your imagination going, and that's good. You want that to keep going.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well, I've taken enough of your time right now, and I just want to thank you for coming on. I definitely want to have you back, especially like maybe when
I'd love to come back.
When you're ready to release your next map of the state, if you could come back, and can I get an exclusive like right before you do it?
Yes.
Like, this is the new map.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm working on something really big. And,
well, don't tell anyone yet. Wait.
Yeah, we'll do it. You and I will. It's a deal, okay?
All right.
I'd love to come back. Yeah,
that'd be awesome. I definitely want you back, because it's fun. I love talking to you, because it like gets me going. It makes me feel like we're at an event again right now, and ignoring customers. And but oh yeah, I'm coming right back.
Which we do, right?
Yeah. Like we start talking. Oh, sorry. Yeah, gotta go talk to this person. All right, so. But cool. Well, thank you very much. And I hope people, I hope people go to your site, purchase some of your stuff, and go see all these events you're going to be at. And hopefully I'll get out to some more, and I'll see you there. So then
I'd love to see you there, man.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Cool.
All right, man.
And those of you watching, listening, go check out Jeff's stuff. You are going to love it. I'm telling you, like, this is just this is just an inkling of it. If you go to his Instagram and his website, you'll be blown away. The stuff is so amazing, so cool. You'll want to spend a lot of money, like I do every time I look at it.
Thank you.
So see y'all later.
The Fedora Files.
Check out FedoraCRT.com today.